Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, man?
I'm all right. Yeah, all things considered, not too bad. It's it's just a bit mad, isn't it? But
Yeah, you would. Are you guys? Do you have to self-quarantine and all that stuff too?
yeah, trying to. Yeah, just you can be hunkered down in the house now for sort of last 5-6 days. I'm lucky, because I've got sort of production and writing stuff. I can do a certain amount of work from home, so it's
That's
not too bad.
nice.
But yeah.
We want to start all the way back at the beginning. You want to tell us about growing up on the sheep farm in Scotland?
Yeah, it's a bit mad. I have this conversation a lot, obviously, and I guess for me, it was very normal. You don't think your circumstances are that sort of exceptional or different, I guess, until you compare them with other people's.
Sure.
But yeah, I grew up on a sheep farm in the Highlands of Scotland for most of my childhood. Which I loved and still do. It's an amazing part of the world. I took it completely for granted when I was that age, as again you do when you're a kid. But it was amazing, and from there, I guess I developed a passion for music very early doors. I got into songwriters like David Bowie and Bruce Springsteen. My mum and dad would play these songs.
Yeah, where your parents were into music, they're playing it around the house. It's kind of how you got your first taste.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. A very common story, I guess. My mum and dad were hopeless musicians and still are.
So they play too.
No, they're awful, dreadful.
Oh,
so I've no idea where I got that from, but yeah, I loved it, and it was just always a passion for mine. It was difficult because it was so isolated and so rural where I was that I felt a lot of the sort of opportunities, especially when I started to get older, were elsewhere, And I think I kind of wanted to kind of fight my way out of that environment and try and find something different. And it's like, again, which is a common story. Normally, it's a common story for bands and sort of housing estates in Manchester, but
yeah.
it was kind of the same for me. I wanted to use my music to take me elsewhere, and to kind of live out these kind of dreams and expectations that I had of myself. And so yeah, it's been partly successful, I guess.
No, that's amazing. So you what time? So you started writing songs really, really early on, right? You were really young.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
what was the first instrument you got into? Was it guitar?
It was piano.
Piano.
My dad accidentally bought a piano at an auction. He thought he was bidding on something else.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they kept it out in the shed, and I just kind of went out and tinkered around on it. And they seemed to think that I had developed a kind of aptitude for music fairly early. My mum says I could whistle before I could talk, but I don't think that's anthropologically possible, actually. But she swears that's true. So I think they kind of thought I had some kind of musicality in me at some point. So.
Sure. So you start playing the piano. How old were you when you started playing piano?
I must have been about 9 or 10, I think. Maybe earlier than that, actually. But yeah, about that kind of age, anyway.
Okay.
I was obsessed with trying to copy note for note other people's music. So, and I would listen to, because it was piano, I would listen to the likes of Elton John or Springsteen or David Bowie, particularly. I think that was a really good grounding for me as well, because those songs are difficult to play.
Yeah, I know.
So, the thing, I became really frustrated in not being able to play things like Changes or Life on Mars, and I think it led to, I've always had this idea that the perfect songwriter is someone who dresses complexity as simplicity, and these guys were really good at taking these incredibly complex arrangements and weird chord changes, modulations, and making them very sort of sing-along and crowd-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved that, and that's something that rings true with me even today. I try and retain an aspect of that in most of my songs.
Mm-hmm. When did you write your first song?
Well, God, probably, I think it would have been about 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a song for my primary school band, who were called the Wallabies, who were really good. So yeah, I think the song was "I Want to Be a Wallaby" as well, which was good. But yeah, so I guess properly started writing songs probably about 12, 13. My parents would take me to sort of local pubs when I was that age, and they would set me up on my little keyboard, and I would sort of play all the hits. And I
Oh,
would slip in,
really?
yeah, I would slip in a couple of my own songs in there and see how they went down. So yeah.
So your parents they were that supportive, they'd take you to play gigs and stuff?
Yeah, massively. Yeah. I think again, living as remotely as that, I don't think I would have stood a chance if they weren't as supportive. Do you know what I mean? I think, that when they drove me all over the place and kind of took me to anything I wanted to go, they would drive hours. I think it's almost sort of par for the course when you pitch up somewhere as in the middle of nowhere as that. But yeah, I'm hugely grateful for it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you said you were in a band in primary school. It was just with your friends. Was that was probably the first time you played with people?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's funny because I always wanted to play with other musicians as well. That was a great sort of longing for me. But it was kind of tricky because again there was not that many musicians around where I used to live.
Uh-huh.
And as I got older, I got really into bands as well. I started to discover things like Interpol, Joy Division, Arcade Fire, bands like that, who had that same songwriting ethos as the guys that I'd grown up with, but were much more aggressive in their delivery. And I kind of wanted to discover ways to do it, but there was nobody really around that could do that sort of thing at the time. So again, I started to kind of push out of my comfort zone. I did a lot of traveling to Glasgow, which is the biggest city in Scotland, and down to London, and just started to kind of put my name around and try to deliver my music to people who might be interested in doing it. And that really started the chain of events that led to me sort of doing what I'm doing now, I guess. And,
So you would go out, and this is later on, you'd go out and just tour on your own? Is that what you're doing?
I started doing that, yeah. I started when I was sort of 16, 17. I left school. I didn't go to university. I left school and just started becoming a musician straight away. It's all I wanted to do. And just started releasing my own really terrible demos and touring around and just sort of finding my feet, really, learning how to play shows and learning how to deal with audiences and how the industry sort of works and things. And I joined a couple of sort of jam bands and, sort of like proper like jump in the van and go type bands, we played every toilet between here and sort of Berlin, just sort of anywhere that would take us, we would play. It was a brilliant experience for me. I needed it, to be honest with you. I think I'd always been because I'd been traditionally a pianist. I was very sort of head over the piano, sort of Chris Martin kind of style, and these shows kind of forced me to perform and bring out that entertaining sort of side, I guess, because when you're stuck in a room with sort of 6 other people and Leon and you don't speak the language, you're forced to become slightly more entertaining and you're like, so yeah, it was a brilliant sort of education for me. It really was. It was great. And I played with other guys who were the same, they brought me on and they were great performers. And so when I came back round to doing ONR, which was the final sort of embodiment of what I wanted to do, I felt really ready for it. I felt like I'd served an apprenticeship. I felt like I knew what I wanted to sound like and how I wanted audiences to perceive me. And that was really important. I get a bit of a reputation, I think, for being incredibly deliberate. I think I'm very sort of thought out, which I wish was true. Sort of random chain of events is probably more accurate, but yeah.
So you were still in school and you set up for this competition. How did you get into the competition with Chris Martin?
Oh yeah, my school teacher submitted me for it, and again, I didn't think anything of it really.
Yeah, he just happened to be a judge in this competition. Like, that's pretty wild to have Chris Martin judge, like a battle of the bands type thing.
Yeah, it was huge, and when I go back through the chain of events that sort of led to me being able to work in music, that was certainly a big thing for me because it gave me a little bit of credibility early doors to sort of open those doors in that extremely early stage, which is one of the hardest parts, so it was great. I was really lucky. The song sucked, and hope nobody hears it, but it was enough for me at that time to sort of, like I say, start to make inroads into being a musician full time, and having my compositions and stuff taken seriously. So
yeah. So you said your teacher signed you up for that competition?
Yeah.
And tell me about winning that. I mean, you said that you didn't you said the song wasn't that great, but it obviously caught the eye of enough people to where you won the competition, especially Chris Martin.
Yeah, I know I'm very bad for down. I think every musician is a bit like that, to be fair. Kind of down.
Sure, yeah.
They did before. The thing they did most recently is by miles the best thing they ever did. But it was, it was incredibly embryonic. At that stage, I was just writing stuff without really even really thinking about it too much, or it was just real stream of consciousness. Which I think is quite important, to be fair. I was really young, and I think at that age you don't want to be overly deliberate, overly thoughtful. You kind of just want to let make all your mistakes and get everything out of your system.
Yeah.
But it was great for me. It really was good. Give me a platform to go and sort of build on, and most importantly, I guess at that time, I was a young kid, like living in the Highlands of Scotland. And
how old were you at that time? How old were you then? Do you remember?
I was 16, I think.
Oh, okay.
16, I guess, yeah.
Still really young, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it gave me a sort of legitimacy in myself as well. It made me think that this isn't just some wild kind of pipe dream that I've had. I do possibly have some kind of ability that can go.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
It was huge.
And then from there, was that where you got offered the place at the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts? Was that through that competition?
Yeah, I did. I got offered a place there, and a few other universities studying music. But it was nothing I wanted to do. Again, all these things seem like very deliberate decisions, but they really weren't. I kind of instinctively knew that.
It just wasn't time.
To do, yeah. Who knows? It might have been fun. It might have been much better. But at that time, I just wanted to go and tour and play and find my feet, I guess.
Yeah, no, totally. I could see that. Instead of wanting to learn the technicalities of stuff in school, like you want to just go and live it and do it.
Yeah, totally. That's it. Yeah, I felt that was the thing that was missing most. Really, was just that sort of working knowledge of how to actually make stuff like that happen.
Sure. Yeah. And from there, is that where you met when you met your manager? That took you through LA and stuff when you were about 16, 17, and was that from that competition?
It was, yeah. Again, I met him. I met him in Glasgow. There was a sort of panel of music industry experts, of which Stephen was one. And again, I got into that meeting purely because I'd had some degree of success, and handed over a CD in my SoundCloud, and then really didn't think much else about it. And then from then on, he liked the music, and we became good friends. And we've kind of sort of taken on the world together a little bit, which it's been great. It's nice to have somebody backing me as much as he's backed me. So
sure. So you still have the same manager now?
That's amazing. I do. Yeah,
wow.
I do. Yeah, we know each other very, very well. We know each other's parents, and we've been to each other's houses at Christmas and stuff. And I sometimes forget that most people don't have that relationship with their manager as well. It's nice. That is nice.
That's amazing. And he took you to LA the first time when you were 60. Tell me about that. That must have been pretty wild. Were you still living in Scotland at the time?
I was. Yeah, I'd never been abroad. I'd never left the country before, so it was a huge deal. Because as much as I'd wanted to I had real ambitions to go and do stuff with my music, I was still incredibly naive,
Yeah.
But to be offered the opportunity like that, I was so excited. And the first time I went to Los Angeles, my dad came with me as well. My dad's a sheep farmer,
Mm-hmm.
Again, has very rarely left the country as well. So I kind of bounced around LA for a week, and my dad sort of bounced around coffee shops in LA for a week for a very weird sort of time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny now because I know Los Angeles really well now. I've been there a bunch of times and stayed there for long periods of time as well. It's a place that I like a lot, a place that I've spent a huge amount of my life in. And weirdly, a place that kind of keeps calling me back as well. It's always been America rather than the UK, where I've sort of had the most, the most sort of support, I guess, the most people who really seem genuinely into it, seems to come from the States for whatever reason.
That's interesting. Yeah, how sometimes that is. And where bands from here are getting, like the Strokes and bands like that would break out of the UK. It was like the Killers, like the opposite. Yeah. It's weird.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they were the best British band to come from America. It's so true.
So you when you're in LA and when you're 16, 17, is that when you started getting label interest, when you're the first time you went out to LA?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Wow.
Stephen took me out there, and we had a catalogue of songs. We put stuff together, and we got some interest, which was really flattering. And at the time, I believed was everything I kind of really wanted to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't happen. And I got to a point where I had to make some sort of big decisions on what I wanted to do. And again, I think the party line is that I made this sort of bold decision not to sign with a record label. But the truth was, that it didn't feel as deliberate as that. I was super naive. I was very nervous. I didn't feel I was as good as people were saying I was. And I really wanted more time to go and develop as a musician and develop my material and develop as a person as well, more importantly. Also, I was incredibly naive in thinking, because I'd had this opportunity very early, it would just come again whenever I wanted as well, which helped. So yeah, we took a bit of time out after that. Like I say, I went away and had a real think about what I wanted to do. I moved down to the borders in Scotland, where I am still now, which was a lot easier for getting around, and I played with a lot of bands and made a lot of music, recorded a lot of music. I wrote for film and TV stuff, and basically turned my hand to as many things as I possibly could just to stay alive while I was working in music.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing I've ever done. I'm really, really glad I did it. It was a huge learning curve for me. I picked up so much. And it really gave me a proper focus for what I wanted to do beyond that as well, more importantly.
Mm-hmm. So when did you make the switch? Because you were playing in bands and stuff, you just said, when you came back. When did you make the switch to become ONR?
It would have been maybe about 4 years ago, I guess.
Okay.
So I had a body of work, maybe 3 or 4 tracks, that I knew were different from anything I'd written before and were more what I wanted to do. And I approached Stephen with it again. We'd always kept in touch, and I called him up and I was like, I think I've got something. I think I've got what this is now. And he agreed. And we put ONR together. I became ONR. I picked the name because I wanted something that reflected something that I'd done so much other stuff in the past that I wanted this thing to sound like it had a sort of dignity about it. It had this sort of grandeur that was different from everything I'd done previously. So yeah, we went with ONR, and yeah, it's been good. It's been exciting. Obviously it's been a crazy last couple of years, bring everything else together, but it's going well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how you spell it too. Like when I first saw it, I couldn't. I thought it was just ONR. I'm like, oh,
everyone does, yeah. That's
and then it's like, ONR. Oh. Okay.
I thought about changing it like a million times because everyone says ONR. I'm like, is ONR better? Should I just call it ONR?
No, ONR is cool. I like it. From there, did you recorded your own stuff and then just solo stuff, and we're like, okay, this is what I'm gonna make. Decided to put out as ONR.
Absolutely, okay. Yeah. At that point, I kind of started self-producing to a certain extent as well. Although we used a couple of great producers on the first couple of tracks. a couple of British guys who were awesome.
Mm.
But it was always with the idea or the intent that I would have a huge input into the production of things and how things would sound. I'd worked with other producers and things and never really liked the transposition between my demos and the fully recorded version. I always felt there was an energy missing. So yeah, my latest EP, for example, is almost entirely self-produced, except for one track.
Wow, the one that's coming out in May.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's exciting. It's my first sort of body of work. It's I've released singles to this point.
Yeah.
So to have my first little music collection out in the world is great. It's really exciting.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's been good. The tracks have gone down well. Everyone seems into them. There's always that horrible lurching feeling before you put new music out.
Sure.
But touch wood, everyone seems to be into it. So
have you been playing those songs out live at all? Yeah,
we did. We played the last two singles. We played them on tour before we released them, just to sort of gauge the reaction of people, I guess.
Yeah.
But we were lucky, they went down well live, and the translation from that to the recording process was pretty easy going, all things considered. So
tell me about, so when you became honored and you have these songs, have you toured around at all?
Yeah, we've done a little bit. It's not a huge amount.
So yeah, you've played with like Bastille and Jig Bug and that's all on the through Honor, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, again, I've been lucky. I've been able to jump on some big tours pretty early, just through meeting people and people liking my music, which I'm hugely grateful for. I know how difficult it is to get into those positions, and to have had that level of support is great. And then once we're in front of those audiences, it feels easier. That's the thing. When you believe in the songs and you believe in the people you're on stage with, the actual performance of it becomes the easy part. You would hope that people would be into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I say, thankfully, the audiences have been great so far. We've been lucky to play with like Bastille and Lewis Capaldi and Jake Bug, and we've got sort of Reading and Leeds this summer, hopefully. If all of this madness sort of subsides.
Wow, that's huge. That's
really great.
Huge. Yeah,
it's great. I'm really like I've been to that festival a couple of times, so to play at it will be incredible.
Wow. So tell me about linking up with Capitol Records to put this out.
So it's Warner Records.
Sorry. Oh, Warner. Sorry.
Let
me try that again. Were you on Capitol, right? At one point?
I was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I was on Capitol for about a year and a half. A couple of years ago, we actually signed with them first when this all started to go. And then we left there about a year ago to move to Warner. So it's about a bizarre set of circumstances, but yeah, touch wood, it's all worked out okay.
And that was all done through your manager?
Well, various things. Yeah, it was slightly bizarre, but it's quite a common story, I guess. People go join a label, and then for various reasons, people move around or things change, situations change, and you end up sort of being shunted somewhere else or moved somewhere else. And so yeah, I moved to Warner, like I say, nearly a year ago now, and
nice.
It's been great, man. I'm really enjoying life there. It's been good. Seems like a good team. Everyone there seems super energized about the music, so it's exciting.
Cool. I noticed that you're doing like a live. Is that tonight? You're doing the live thing?
Yeah. I don't know how I kind of ended up doing these. I put it up on Instagram that I was going to do like a live kind of sessions, the same way that a lot of people are doing. Well, people
like the stay home together stuff.
Yeah. And I gave people the option of doing it like here in my studio or in my garden shed, and like almost unanimously people wanted me to do it from my garden shed. So like 3 times a week I go out to my garden shed and I like take a guitar and I just sort of jam out like some covers and a couple of my own songs, and it's been good. People seem really into it. I kind of started it as something quite silly, and actually I think because it is a little silly, people quite like it. The feedback's been really nice. People have got in touch to say that when times are as stressful as they are and people have a lot to think about, something like that has been quite a nice release for them. So I'm going to just keep doing them every couple of days until people get bored of them, I guess.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
love
no,
it.
it's fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, with the unfortunate circumstance, it's amazing to go on, Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and see some of your favorite artists just playing in their living room or in their studio or in their shed. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it will change things going forward as well. I think people are sort of starting to welcome the idea of doing things like this on a more mainstream sort of level as well, you know. So who knows, like, you know, obviously we've no idea how long this is going to last, but
sure,
I think you'll just see more of these types of performance going forward anyway.
Definitely. Well, thank you, man, for chatting with me. I appreciate it. I have one more question for you.
Of course.
Yeah, just with all your knowledge and what you've learned throughout the years, do you have any advice for aspiring musicians?
Yes. Let me think about it. I mean, the obvious one is just to work hard. I mean, it sounds obvious, but you really do need to graft. You know, you have to kind of put the work in, and it's putting the work into the right things as well. You know, I meet a lot of, I do a lot of kind of charitable things in Scotland for young people who are trying to get into music and trying to.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Of course, yeah. I work with a couple of projects, Music Plus in Scotland, Futures in Music, and they're organisations that talk to young people who are interested in working in the music industry, and some of them are composers and songwriters and producers, and I'll just speak to them, I guess, about how I
really
fumbled my way into
it. Yeah, that's awesome.
I think it's important, man.
That's
you know,
a cool
it's like,
program. Yeah,
it's great. You know, when you don't live in London or New York or Los Angeles, you have to be a little bit smarter and a little bit more savvy, I guess, in terms of knowing what it is you're trying to do. So it's been great. I've really enjoyed it as well. Like, personally and selfishly, it's been really fun to be involved in, you know, seeing kids, super talented kids, you know. So yeah, I guess the advice I always give to them is that you have to work really hard. You have to kind of put the graft in and put it into the right places as well. You know, make sure that you're competent at your musical instrument. It sounds really obvious, but you'd be astonished at the people who aren't. You know, if you're interested in doing self-production, then look into that, because otherwise you're always going to have to rely on someone else to produce for you. And the wider you can put your skill set early doors, and the more things you can turn your hand to, the more useful you are, you know. And I think being useful is something that I've always enjoyed in terms of working with other people. You know, I've done a bit of co-writing and production for other artists and things, and it's always nice going into a studio environment knowing that you can help in various sort of ways. You know, you can work behind the desk, or you can play a bit of bass, or you can, you know, do some singing, or you know, some lyrics or whatever it is, you know. So I guess that would be something, you know, try and develop your skill sets and make sure you're capable of doing a lot of things. But I guess the biggest piece of advice I would give to anyone trying to get into this industry is just to enjoy it. You know, literally, like, it's an amazing industry to work in. It's so much fun. The best people in the world work in it. It's really exciting every single day. You know, there's ups and downs, obviously, and it can be difficult at times. But you know, it's so much fun. You know, getting on stage and writing and performing is amazing. And as long as you're enjoying it and you feel that there's some kind of positive trajectory to it all, then it's fine. You know, it's great.